Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Interviews. And today we are chatting with Mbali, and she's an absolute powerhouse of energy and the most incredible supporter and grower of other entrepreneurs. And I'm going to let Mbali tell you more about who she is, what she does, and why she does it.
Hi, Melanie, and hello, audience. I'm super thrilled to be in this opportunity to chat about myself and to chat about the things that we're doing or that I'm doing and the spaces that I find myself in. My name is Mbali, as Melanie said. I grew up in Soweto, a place known for its incredible ability to execute good hustles. And now I live here. Welcome to my home. And I work in the communities and startup space. I'm the co-director of startupgrind Johannesburg, which is a global startupgrind is a global network of startups, VCs, tech guys who connect with each other to empower one another. And through that, I have taken on a role as South Africa's ambassador for equality and inclusivity. What that means is that the world was having a look with all the stuff that's going on. They had a really big look into researching what really goes on in terms of startup and entrepreneurship empowerment, and they found that in all the money that gets funded around the globe, especially into Africa, 77% of that investment goes to a particular type of demographic, your white demographic or your white male demographic, and regardless of education, background, product, whatever it is. And so they have, and 1% of that goes to Black females like myself. 1%, that's kind of crazy. So these guys took this information. Yeah, a little bit, just a little bit nuts, especially because in my opinion, and just as you can see it's anywhere around the world. Usually your Black woman households, the woman is also the breadwinner of the household and they carry quite a lot. And in fact, it's actually really powerful just looking at my own mom and how she would stretch an almost literal 10 Rand a month budget, to feed, educate, empower 4 of her own children to become the people that they are. So there definitely needs to be a lot of change, and there definitely needs to be a shift in thinking and in the way that we support and the way that we create and amplify these systems. And so I find myself to be really, really lucky that I'm in a space where I can connect with other entrepreneurs, find out where the challenges are, connect them with the right people, resources, training, mentorship, and even funding that they may succeed wherever they go.
I think that's such amazing work. I had a conversation with somebody the other day. They were talking about their female role models in business, and all these very obvious names came up of overseas people who've made it big. And I said to them that really, for me, my heroes are your people who are running small, little kind of day-to-day businesses who persevere.
Yes.
And who make a lot happen with very, very small resources, because I think those people are the real heroes, because it's very, very tough to tough it out when you've only got a little bit of money in the system. So I think that the role you're stepping into is really incredible.
It's huge. It's huge. It's exciting. It's also intimidating because of the magnitude of just the scale of the challenge and the opportunities as well. And also, of course, I want to be able to do a qualified and meaningful impact so that we can be on the right side of history. He's a Ghanaian man who lived across the continent and ended up finding himself in the States, and he created the African Leadership Academy. But I consider him a role model because he had seen an opportunity that was based on the fact that we need to now, by empowering community leaders and entrepreneurs, we are building the next global leaders as well as big corporations of the future generations. I think in this lockdown time, it's been really, really interesting to see. I think people are really taking in the value of the impact of the smaller communities and the smaller businesses that have kind of just always been there. And this has been a nice time for them to shine or to have a little bit more visibility. So it's really, really interesting, and it really And it really is important that we continue to have these conversations, and we also identify and celebrate our local heroes. I love that you mentioned that people look abroad, but that's also, sometimes it can be because, so when I Google, how to market tea, how can I market tea? And I'll go hit up Google, and 80 to 90% of that information is a .com or .co.uk. And while the information can be meaningful, it speaks for a different world. It speaks for the people who are not here, who don't share the same challenges as we have. So people like you, Melanie, who's a community leader in many, many different ways, and putting these platforms out that we can celebrate and identify the people that are making meaningful change, or that are looking to connect with people that are doing that kind of stuff. I think it's really, really powerful, and it's an exciting accelerant or catalyst of more change.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit more about Startup Grind. How does it work? What does it actually do for people?
Okay, well, Startup Grind actually was founded by these wonderful chaps in Silicon Valley, where there's a lot of startups going around, a lot of tech startups. Just to talk about the .com model being different to South Africa, there's a lot of money running around. So if you're a startup, you can easily gain access to funding, you can easily gain access to this. But still with that, there were just some infrastructural and systemic gaps where people were not able to get the right information, or to get qualified information, to learn from each other, and also to connect with one another. The entrepreneurship space can be it is a little bit isolating, because we're South-World, we do our own things, and we just live in our bubbles. And it's really nice that they've created a space where people can, have your bubbles, but let's put our bubbles together and we can learn from one another. So Startup Grind started out in Silicon Valley, and they've grown internationally. And I'm fortunate to be a part of the South African leg, where we create events, we do workshops, we do articles and content that help entrepreneurs. Something that's really awesome that I love about the Startup Grind space is that not only can you learn from successful venture capitalists, or my favorite event series that we did was with this wonderful lady who is she's a franchisor, and to me, I always thought like, okay, KFC is a franchise, and that's what it is, or like Steers, or like that thing that can be a carbon copy. And actually, it's the concept of a franchise is an infrastructure that can be replicated in many different ways. Some people might actually be a franchise without even knowing it. So it's learning those different kind of things, understanding where venture capitalists and investors are looking now in the COVID world. They're all looking at solutions, obviously mostly in the tech and the web-based solutions that tackle the real challenges. And so we have those conversations that can enlighten people, and people can also definitely reach out and ask the right questions from these incredible qualified people. And that is one of my favorites. That's one of my favorite things. The guys at Startup Grind also like to say that we are the startup mayors of our town, which is kind of pretty cowboy. You got to rally up the startups and rally up the information and host some cool rodeos, I guess. So I really, really love that. But more than anything, with the Startup Grind Africa community, we're all in our own WhatsApp groups and our conversational groups, and there's a really, really powerful shared synergy, first of all, and a shared intention to make meaningful change. So we have these like intense conversations around how do we get get qualified funding, or how do we support through peer-to-peer finance, or whatever it is, and how do we get those things going. And then someone in Ghana will go, oh, well, here's a cool product that might be able to help us identify those challenge areas. And then someone else in Nigeria says, well, I think this, and I'll go, I think that, and we sit and we have these awesome conversations. So while we're also connecting people with the right resources and with one another, we're also honestly and genuinely trying to figure out where the first starting point can be, that we can just kind of get something going that can really connect our continent. I think we have a beautiful continent and a lot to offer. It's insane the cool products and tools and technologies that are coming out, and they're coming from people like us. And for the most part, they're coming from people that have nothing, that are built in Ghana, again, for example, where they have this big dump site of technology and broken computers and laptops and just stuff that gets dumped from the West. And the youngsters are inventing are inventing the craziest things out of junk. So the entrepreneurship spirit is there, the skills and the mind and the passion and that just creative energy is absolutely there. And we've taken it onto ourselves to take a responsibility to make sure that those people are protected in terms of that they have the right resources and knowledge, and that they know that where they can go, or at least where they can start to look to achieve success. I think that's pretty much what it is in a long story short. I'm very, very passionate about it, so I could just go on forever. And,
I love it. I love
really,
it.
really
Your
awesome.
energy is infectious. So how did they find you? Because here you are on the tip of Africa.
It all started because homegirl over here spends a lot of time on the internet, and while I was a university student, my mom would get so upset because I ended up dropping out of my pharmacy degree. But my mom would come into my room expecting that I was studying, but there I was with these like crazy business plans and like, oh, I'm gonna open this thing and I do this project, and she would just lose her mind. And eventually I dropped out and I got into my own freelancing space within the creative industry. And from there, I created something called iknowaguy. iknowaguy started out on Facebook. It's a Facebook community, a very large Facebook community that was initially for myself and my peers, where we could connect with one another to refer, if I need a makeup artist, or if I need a photographer, or if I'm hiring a PA, or if I'm hiring, I'm looking to get, hey, does anyone know an attorney? And just from me and my peers going, oh, I know a guy, here, get in touch with this guy, or, if they didn't know a guy, they knew a guy who knew a guy. And that just grew incredibly. Hundreds of thousands of members at the moment, which is a bit insane, just kind of from this cool thing that I created just to connect with my peers and empower and do like a digital Ubuntu where we're empowering one another. And so, this is going to be a bit of a long story. So from that, I've somehow... Cool. I'm glad I've got tea. I hope you guys do too. So from that community, I'd somehow managed to get onto the radar of actual Facebook, who at the time in around 2018 were looking at going, our product is a bit chaotic. There's got to be some good that we're doing. And then they found out that people are gathering and connecting with each other in the form of Facebook groups. I'll just sidetrack quickly before I get back to that story. It is really awesome to see. So with technology coming out and everyone's going, we're all sucked into our devices, we're not connecting. Even in the digital space, even in a non-physical world, we have found a way to come together based on a common interest, a common goal, a common passion, a common whatever it is. And that is the power of community, and definitely digital Ubuntu in my eyes. So that's what Facebook did. They contacted me. Some chick was hitting me up in my DMs, and I was just like, Facebook would never do that. But it turned out it was real. And so eventually I responded, and I was like, okay, scam artist, but let me hear you out. And we connected at an event in Soweto where they were launching the community leadership circles. A long story short, I was taken up to Silicon Valley to speak about communities like mine in emerging economies, and came back to be an ambassador for community leadership in South Africa, where I was tasked with connecting with other community leaders such as yourself and some others. Is Lerato, who has a community for nurses against being undermined. We do have our things. We have a user experience on the nurses, but the nurses themselves, they just come to a community so they could have a space to express themselves and a place to just chat about things where they felt they were not being heard. And it's just, again, goosebumps. You can't see it because my long sleeves, but just like the power of that connection. So in that role, I found myself connecting more startups, a lot of people coming to me to figure out, hey, I've got this cool thing, what can I do about that? Or who can I speak to about X, Y, and Z? And I was really, really fortunate that I applied. This girl with her Facebook group and a bag full of ideas, and I said, look, I'd like to join your team. I think I can help. And a couple of interviews and a lot of training later, and I've made it into the Startup Grind family, which is really, 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 it's a honorable and a really unique family to be a part of. Some of these entrepreneurship platforms can be a little bit, I don't want to say superficial, but just not deep enough. So, you're hiring your business influencers to chat about X, Y, and Z, and you're doing this and the other, but the groundwork just kind of seems a bit lacking. So we have our conversation, we take our pictures for Facebook, and that's where it ends. And it's really nice to be in a conversation where people are not looking to give up those chats anytime soon. So as soon as we get offline, we're online in a different place, or we're connecting, in meetings for other people to see what we can do to connect to others. So that is the story of Startup Grind. I absolutely love being a part of the family, and I hope that they are not tired of me and my Facebook memes just yet. And yeah, it was actually from Startup Grind that got the attention of the organization that does the Equality Ambassadorship Program, where they have identified me as the South African ambassador for equality and inclusivity. And we have a lot of work on our hands, and that's the exciting part as well.
I love that you have so much energy for the work, because there's a lot to be done, and you're going to need it. You're going to need it.
Yeah. It is overwhelming. It is really, really positively stressful. And I must stress positively stressful, because it's the challenge that I've chosen, it's the challenge that I've chosen, and it wakes me up in the morning. It's, there was a really cool LGBTQ plus app community, and I freaked out because oh my gosh, where have you guys been? You have to get in touch with me. I'd love to expose you to the world. And so it's moments like that that really, really make it worthwhile. Or just from my community, I know a guy, there's a lady who last year, she built her entire salon, and it's gorgeous. From the uniforms to this to the marketing, all of it was sourced on I Know a Guy. And she just kind of put out into this little community of people that have a shared connection, in this group. And her business is thriving. She's got the best nail techs, and she pays them these insane rates. And, because she also believes in women empowerment, that people can also have these real jobs. And so seeing that and knowing that that's what's happening, that'll always keep me up every day, and that'll always make me want to do more, and to make that, and to just figure out more ways to make it more. I'm a moreish person, I guess. The more I see, I'm just we must do more. I
love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Now, tell us a little bit more about I Know a Guy. So I've followed the growth of I Know a Guy. How many members do you have at this time?
I'm going to say that there are about 176 or 7,000 members on I Know a Guy. In a month, we grow by about anything between 5,000 and 8,000 members. We approve about anything between 3,000 and 7,000 job, freelance, whatever opportunities in a month. And we are growing strong. So I consider myself an accidental founder, because I didn't really plan for this. It was just oh, cool, man, let me just do this thing. I hated my full-time job, but I ended up quitting. I was bored on Facebook and just seeing people needed stuff, and I knew people, or I knew people who knew people, and just from that, it's just grown to a really, really powerful space. But so in a given day, according to the insights, there are about 130,000 out of that 170K that are active daily members. So people are always browsing that. And I think in a lockdown time as well, I think that community has played a more serious role in helping people get what it is that they need to get done. I really, really love I Know a Guy. We've also used to do a couple of live events, or of real-time events. And also, again, for us, by us, all the vendors, the speakers, the decor, the art, the whatever, was all from within that network. And what I found about that was really, really interesting, because we are connecting online over these gigs and these jobs, but people still really wanted to meet one another in the real world. And like I said, with entrepreneurship being a very isolating space, it was just a really magical thing to see people just really want that connection, and that qualified connection where they can learn, engage, and empower one another. So that's the story of I Know a Guy. I've actually finally gotten around to getting an app going, which is more just because of, it exists within a Facebook framework, and some of the tools that things are a little bit limited, but also because I'd like to be able to monetize a little bit more seriously, in a way that I can also be able to to finance certain things and to help other people build whatever it is they need. And also, in a perfect world, if this goes perfectly, then I would love as well for I Know a Guy to take a chunk of whatever it's earnings and put that right back into incubator programs and accelerator programs for youth and youth development and training, but also for research. I think there's a lot of, like we were saying, there's a lot of .com, and there are a lot of, these are other people telling us the information on what's going on in our continent. And I think it's time that we also just kind of have a more, just an on the ground and from us qualified source of information that we can also go, oh, cool, this is actually what's going on, and not have to be taking it from other places and then reacting. So that is the plan. Highly ambitious, but how else do you know me? And that's the plan, and that's where hopefully we're going. Yeah.
So I've heard you like tell me some pretty intense numbers there about how many people you have joining and all of that. How do you manage all of that? Do you have a team that helps you behind the scenes? And do you pay that team? How does it work?
Yes. Well, as a self-willed, stubborn, independent human being, for the longest time, I was A-okay doing everything on my own. I did once let on to have a business partner, and that ended shockingly bad. And I took a really personal dip, and I was just trying to actually get rid of I Know a Guy and just pass it on to somebody else. It was then that a couple of highly engaged members of the group reached out to me and said, hey, man, we'd like to volunteer to help you out. And I was like, are you sure? This thing is depressing. Like, I want to get out, don't do that. Don't do it, And eventually I warmed around to it. And now I've got a team of about 9 volunteers. And how we manage the group is that we vet every single profile that comes in. So somebody will come and join the group, and we've asked them a couple of questions so we know that if they're legit or not. Sometimes you'll get a bot account that just answers the most hilarious questions. I'm going to show you some screenshots. It's just funny. Just like funny stuff like, okay, you're definitely a fake account, like,
Yes.
And from there as well, we have a very tight moderation system. So nothing that gets into the group has not been read by myself or any of my team. We do shifts. A couple of people are up at crazy o'clock, and they love to sit and they moderate the group. And so people check the profiles, and they check the posts, and they approve or decline based on that. And then once those get into the group, another shift within our volunteer group is for people to go through the group and check all the comments and check that everybody is behaving, and pull out someone who's misbehaving or that just seems a little bit sketchy or that people are just not responding positively to. I try to pay my volunteers as often as I can. I don't always get it right, which is also why I'm super excited that the guys on Facebook have reached out again. They're trying to roll out monetization. I'm super, super blessed to have this team who just, it's kind of a bit of like a second nature thing that we have this thing that's, almost like muscle memory. Like you get up, you do your ikagging along the day, and if we have challenges, we take a screenshot and we discuss it in our place. If we want to share a laugh, we definitely share those bogus accounts or like the weird requests and have a bit of a laugh about that. And we also chat about real things. And that's also another reason that I've decided to level it up and to start to monetize. So I can also, in a perfect world, I'll just get my entire volunteer team to quit their jobs and come work with me, and let's just connect everybody. The plan with I Know a Guy as well is to hug the supply chain command of the continent. I think a lot of the startups, well done, but a lot of the startups, because the only measure that we have is international. We want to build something and then take it to Silicon Valley or take it to Dubai Tech or wherever it is that it can grow legs. And I think there's a massive opportunity for us to be here and to be present. So in a perfect world, I'd have everybody with me and move in there, and we are getting there slowly. But yeah, so the brands have played a really nice role in promoting certain stuff within that framework that I can also pay our volunteers. I don't pay everybody a lot of money at all, just because I can't afford it. And that's also another reason to level up as well. And also being a part of the Startup Grind community, while I always forget myself. And that's something that everyone just brings up, like, hey girl, like sign up your thing. And so that's something that I'm slowly coming around to doing as well, just because I took it as being a bit of a selfish thing, or a bit of a, am I leveraging all these resources for me? But I also do have a responsibility to make sure that the startup that I have is thriving and growing, and that it empowers the very people that are helping me to grow and empower other people. But yeah, everybody in my volunteer team is absolutely, this is great. They have this wonderful sense of compassion. I fell ill for a couple of weeks. I think it was last year, and I was man down. You could not find me. And when I eventually got back into the swing of things, and I had to ask them, like, what are the rules again? Like, what are we doing? Do we do this and we do that? They're like, no, girl, like, let's just quickly do a training with you. And so it's really, really nice to have a powerful team that is reliable, that is super compassionate, that really, really, they came to me because they want to help others, and to be a part of that movement and a part of that growth. So yeah, so I finally, got my tears out the way and the pity parties from the failed partnership to get back on the wagon with a lot of support and a bit more strength to get some things going. Yeah.
So my one big group, I've also got volunteers who support me with it, and I always find it's quite a surreal feeling. I'm like, I can't believe that these amazing people are generous enough and care enough about the cause to actually show up the way they do.
Showing up without question. They've gone, hey, Melanie, how can I help? I want to contribute. This is great, and I want to be a part of that. And you're a giver. You're a massive giver yourself, Melanie. Just in terms of the platforms that you've created and the way that you just go out of your way to empower those spaces as well. And for someone to want to be like, can I help you? Like, can I just genuinely help you? And it's like, are you sure? Are you sure? There are some bad moments in this, and they're going, yeah, man, And I think that's just the power of connection again, and just it just reassures that together we can make change. Together we can do more, and that there are some like-minded people that really are about seeing the vision through. And sometimes I feel bad about that. Oh my gosh, why are they volunteering? I can't even pay them this month. Blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, it's something that they've decided in themselves that they want to be a part of, and trusting that process and accepting it was a bit difficult at first. I'm sure you can relate. But it is. It's beautiful. Yeah.
So I hear your unbounded energy and enthusiasm. What have been your biggest hurdles and challenges, the things that have almost made you give up?
Wow. Okay. Well, starting out, because I've always had this thing of entrepreneurship within me. I've tried many different businesses and different types of things, and either I lost interest because it wasn't for me, or just or it was just not meant to be. Just looking at the timeline of things I could have done differently to get a better outcome. But some of the lowest points for myself. So when you start out and you really go, I'm officially going to do this as a startup, or I'm officially like taking this seriously and going out there. Because we don't have the real conversations around a lot of things, we as startups and we as creators and creatives, we don't know how to fail. And we don't know what we need to know, and we don't know what we don't need to know in order to be successful. So that was something that was a major learning curve for myself. So the first 2 times that I tried to create these apps, by collaborating with others, and it was just like me going, cool, because someone's like, I want to do your app, and I was like, cool, come, let's do this, and here's all this information. And it turned out this person just really did not know what they were doing. But also at the same time, I could have also managed my communications and been a bit more clear and had a bit more of a vision. So there are things in terms of communication that I could have done differently back then, and that's something that I've learned to master and to understand. There are also some low points as well with the failed partnership. While there's still some elements of that I try to unpack for myself, there was some learning in terms of, so I was just this cool chick doing this cool stuff, and this man came along as, I'm going to finance everything, we can balance out, and it ended up being this thing where I was like, I just felt like an employee, and I was, being bullied and sworn at and just like all these kind of crazy things. And I had to look within and go, what is it about myself that allowed me to accept this toxic situation? Because toxic people are not fussy at all. They'll go anywhere that they can thrive like that. So I had to look within and do a lot of kind of soul searching and ownership of self. I think maybe it's a female thing, maybe it's an empath thing. There's this thing that we have in ourselves where sometimes we'll quiet ourselves down in the room so people can accept us in bite-sized chunks. Now, babe, stay whole and let them choke, We are the ones, yeah, man, stay whole and let them choke. Like, we are the creators. They found me in the space where I was thriving and doing great things, and somehow, just because this person walked into the room, I suddenly accepted that I knew nothing. And also at the time, because I didn't have a committed desire to understand the economics of things, I allowed that room for myself to be manipulated or taken advantage of based on things that I didn't know, and that person knew better. So definitely don't do that. Don't do that. If you're listening, make sure you know your homework, make sure you're doing a bit of a vetting process. Also understanding what the implication of legalities are, and IP and getting your trademarks and, those kind of things that protect yourself. So, and that's also some stuff that you can learn from being a part of conversations in the startup grinds communities. And we don't do so much anymore now at iknowaguy, but definitely within the startup grind spaces where we are actually having those chats around trademark. Okay, do I need a trademark? What is the difference between copyright, patent, and trademark? Because those are 3 different things I learned through these conversations. So yeah, one of the things that was a massive learning curve, a massive low point for me, was putting myself in confusing and really heartbreaking situations because I didn't take the opportunity to empower myself. I think a lot of startups as well, you create a business and then you expect it to thrive, or you start a Facebook page and you want it to go viral, and there's a lot of legwork that goes into that. There's a lot of connecting with people, there's a lot of listening as well, because maybe your product is crap, maybe nobody needs your, you know what I mean, like someone's going to create an electric bicycle. Yes, babe, we have motorbikes, so let's have a look at that, also whatever it is, and just doing a lot of listening to your audience and finding out what the real challenges are that we can problem solve, as opposed to just walking into a room and just announcing whatever it is and then just expecting money or expecting these things to roll through. I think I also got into a space, just trying to apply for these government empowerment programs and this and that and the other, thinking, I've got this thing, they must pick me, and then you kind of get a bit disheartened by that, and because you're waiting for months and all of that. Nah, babe, do your thing, stay in your lane, and people will find you wherever they are. And yeah, that's pretty much it, I think, off the top of my head. It's always a learning curve, but more than the biggest value the biggest learning lesson that I had is to follow my own intuition, to remember that I am the creator of this brilliant movement or energy or synergy and platform or product, and that I need to let that speak a bit more than just getting people to tell me how to do things, because I've obviously done something that's really great without that really bad advice. Yeah.
Those are some awesome,
or misaligned advice, let me rather say. Yeah.
Those are awesome insights. Thank you. I appreciate it. I know that a lot of entrepreneurs out there feel that if they just found the right business partner, that things would go differently for them. And partnerships are so fraught with danger. Really, they're very dangerous.
Yeah.
So that was very valuable learning.
Partnerships can also go south because so essentially, when you're looking for a partner, then you've kind of committed to this thing of monetizing. I've got a partner now, we're going to figure out money. And sometimes you just need to work on the perfect product. And I think the money conversation, this thing around money, is one of the biggest tankers of partnerships. I have a peer and a very old friend who, just as a case study, he was creating South Africa's first smartphone. And I mean, put in the technology, he had a full-time job, he put all his money into it and savings and blah, 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 and getting all these money from different people. He got this business partner who on paper was just like out there. They were on the news. The BBC was going to fly them to the UK to chat about their products. It's so exciting, all of this great stuff. And out of the blue, my friend was winded to learn the next day when his phone was popping off that his own business partner had been arrested for insane levels of fraud and insane levels of all of these things. And where, you know, after, I mean, he obviously took a moment to just be completely shocked. And then as we were unpacking it a little bit later, my friend, he's the one that had the ideas. He's the one that built the infrastructure. He's the one that had all of these things. And this dude came on as like the slick, the silver tongue, I think they call it, and just like this smooth operator who managed to convince my friend that he needs him. Whereas actually, you know, all my mate was doing is just chucking out money and putting that in. And while we can't always put a formula down to pick in the perfect partner, we can also understand business infrastructure and business systems where perhaps that could have been a joint venture where, you know, at least I could have cut you out instead of both of us are now tanked because of you. So yeah, the partnership conversation is always continuous. It's always something, even sometimes where partners have come up with that idea together, because we don't have a clearly communicated system of infrastructure, you know, that infrastructural system of, okay, this is what's going to happen. And if we fall out, or, you know, when we make our first 10,000 Rand, let's rather not pocket the cash. Let's have a plan for when we make the first 10,000 Rand, when we make the next 20,000 Rand, like what are we going to do? And having those milestones and having those realistic conversations. I think also in South Africa, because we're such hungry beings, you know, we're capable and we're hungry and we're also just tired of just everything works against you, you know, just naturally in this world. And then when you decide to be a crazy person like an entrepreneur with all this like weight coming against you and you just really, really want to succeed, and the monetization and that element is sometimes what we narrowly focus on, but there's just a lot of different things and red flags that, you know, that usually show themselves up after the fact. We go, that was a sure sign. Okay, we could have done that. And so we just need to take our time, be attentive, not rush into these engagements. You can also do venture partnerships, joint venture partnerships. There are just different ways that we can partner that isn't just that type of partnership. Yeah, that's what I have to say about partners. Check them out, guys. Don't jump into bed with everybody.
Very valuable conversation to have. Thank you, Mbali. So we've looked at the downside. Let's look at the upside. What is your favorite part of what you do?
That is interesting. The fact that I'm taking my time does not mean that there's no favorite part. I mean, it literally gets me up in the morning. I'll wake up and my hand is already on my internet, checking my emails, checking my Facebook, and just connecting with people. So I think what's my favorite part is the connection and the discovery of people. From an I Know a Guy perspective, it's super cool to see like just to have a little sample of what's going on in the entrepreneurship world in South Africa. What type of people are hiring? What type of jobs are the most quickly circulating? What type of freelance? What type of full-time? You know, just kind of what's going on. Having a finger on that pulse is super, super cool in terms of just knowing. I absolutely, the positive is the end results of the connection, the seeing the salons being built, the people used to stop me in the streets and go, you know, recognize me from my Facebook page and my memes and go, are you Mbali? Are you the chick from I Know a Guy? And dude, I got this cool gig and thank you so much. Or there's a lady who has this, I think it's like a graphic design or website business, I can't remember. And she would go, look, I sit on Facebook every day and that's how I make my rent on your Facebook group. And I'm going, crap, you know, that's a lot of pressure. Thanks, chick. But no, Jay, that's a joke. That's a bad joke. But going, holy smokes, you know, that is the impact of it. So I think the seeing the growth and not really saying, you know, I created that, because I believe that I just facilitated it by putting the right people in the same room or having that room where the right people can come together. That is really one of the biggest passion points. I think the biggest bonus of all of this is, so, you know, as opposed to being an influencer, I would love a goal would be to be a person of influence in the sense that I can be aware of some of the challenges that are there and be in the same room at the least as the people who are able to make or to catalyze change that can impact a problem solving on that end. Problem solving is my happy place, and also connection is my happy place on that. So that is one of my greatest things, and it's also catalyzed a lot of personal growth for myself. Really taking that responsibility seriously, and it is one of the greatest things ever. Yeah. And also in a non-lockdown world, I've been able to travel a little bit. I mean, Facebook literally took me, this African chick, to Silicon Valley with my SpongeBob eyes, like checking out San Francisco and like, oh my gosh, that's Uber and that's Google. And like, yeah, so please send lockdown in because I want to see more of the world.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Now, we've been talking for a long time, and I'm so thankful for all of the beautiful insights that you've shared, and particularly for the enthusiasm that you've shared with the people watching today. If anybody would
Yeah.
like to get hold of you online, where can they find you?
The best way is to pop me an email, mbali@startupgrind.com. If you find me on iknowaguy, my name is Mbali Ndhlovu, spelled with an H. You could probably hit me a DM on Facebook, and eventually I'll reply. I just say eventually because I'm currently in a space of trying to manage my Facebook time, because otherwise I spend the whole day there, and then I just kind of, what I'll do is I'll stalk this person and find their startup and like, oh my gosh, and find another one and like find that person, and then 4 hours are gone and my emails are piling up. So I've just decided to switch it around. So the email space is the best place to find me. And yeah, check out Startup Grind very definitely. If you want to get involved in finding out how you can be a part of the if you are a startup, first of all, that's looking to be accelerated and empowered and endorsed, you should check out community.scaleinc, scale INK, like an ink pen, community.scaleinc.com, and join our community, because there's a lot of information, and that's where also the ambassador guys can directly access you and find out what you're about. And yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me.
I love it. I love it. Do you have any parting words for any entrepreneurs who are watching?
I think if you're an entrepreneur, congratulations on the craziest lifestyle choice that you've made. It's so sad. But congratulations, and definitely keep it going. Always look to connect with others, because yeah, connection is really, really important. It'll help you feel less alone, and finding people who are also in the same business space as you is not always a direct threat or competition. It's also an opportunity to learn from each other, and also sometimes you can come together to solve a common problem. So that's something that I would definitely say to everybody. Definitely keep watching this show, because these conversations are awesome, if I must say. Um, humble girl, be humble, it's Friday. But yeah, so check out these platforms. Definitely keep reaching out. There are some people out there who are open and willing to listen. And we are definitely taken to task these major corporations that brag about what they've been doing for us, but we don't see it anywhere. So keep an eye on the change, and definitely just keep doing whatever you're doing. Be okay with failing, and making those mistakes, and also talking about them, because you'll find for the most part that someone else has shared that same experience, and we can learn together and help others to grow from that experience as well. And that's pretty much what I have to say. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been amazing. Thank you, Mbali.